Okay, we are on the record. We're here for a kickoff meeting between IUPA and the city of Port Orange. It is 2/2/22 today, so February 2nd, 22. It is 2 o'clock, so we'll go around the room real quick. I'm Heather Carzala, city of Port Orange.
Quick courtesy of Port Orange.
Carly Meek, city of Port Orange.
Jared Alvasados, President of IUPA.
Gary Wilson, attorney for the union.
Chris Raines, Vice President of IUPA.
Okay, welcome everybody. Feels like we were just here, but we are back again. I do know that we have wrapped up wages for the remaining year of the contract, but there are options for openers. We'll start with, I have handed out some draft ground rules. I think they're pretty similar or identical to what we did last time. So if those look good to you, if you've got any changes, I've got a Word doc. We can edit it real quick and print them out and sign them. Otherwise, we can just sign them as is if you guys are good.
The last time, Heather, you can correct me if I'm wrong, or Gary will also. The two articles that are we doing, last time, were we doing 3 articles open, or are we just moving that one to 2 now?
I believe each side can do 2.
Okay.
Right? I think we said we would do wages, and then each
Okay.
side could open 2 articles.
I don't know if that was spelled out in an MOU or in the
I
actual.
actually think it's at the end of the contract.
End of the contract. Here's the entire duration. Yeah, wages will be subject along with 2, so it's wages plus 2.
Right, so we've already
Yeah.
taken care of wages
Yeah.
for another year,
Sure,
so
sure.
each side could have 2.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's fine, because that gives me, I want to be able to go over with the bargaining unit, basically, hey, here's where we're at, 2 articles. And because I have so far, I've got some consensus from a lot of the bargaining unit officers and sergeants that are in it of where they're kind of wanting to be at. So the one thing I think we're going to try to tackle this year is, the one thing I want to see if we can get going is, everyone is every hot button issue along the pension. So what I want to do, I mean, we talked about the cost, the pension study costs and everything like that. So what I'm looking to do, so I have the time to see it in fully, is we want to get the cost for doing the pension study of taking a tier 2 officer and converting them to a tier 1 officer, and what's that going to cost, and get that study done, because I want to be able to bring that data to the officers and go, here's where we're at. That is a lot of the what I'm seeing, what I'm being brought up is, we have a lot of differences between these 2 tier systems, and I think it would be a great thing to start moving towards bringing everyone back into the same realm. The intention of this is to take a tier 2 employee and move them closer to a tier 1, and I want to make sure that it's not confused. That I had a strong reaction from a lot of people. And as a group, we've said, we're not going to take anything away from a tier 1 person to give to a tier 2. We're going to move a tier 2 person closer to tier 1. So I want to make sure that I'm open and that statement's out there, so there's no confusion later. Well, we want to remove this. I want to make sure that it's clear that the general thing is, anything that we get presented as a tier 1 remove is immediately going to be no. So that's one of the hot button things so I want to do the cost study on that, and then I'll give me some time to basically look at another article, because there was a few articles that were thrown around, but if I go back to the bargaining unit and give them another one and get a general, this is going to be our final, these are the 2, I should be able to have that by the next meeting. I think that would be good.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Do you think there would be appetite or openness to, hypothetically speaking, so tier 2 employees have an 8% contribution, tier 1 employees have a 7.5% contribution.
Correct,
There is going to be a cost to move everybody back to tier 1,
correct.
but could we increase the employee contribution? So not reduce benefits, but maybe do an increase, everybody's got the same contribution rate, and it might be 8%, maybe it's 8.5% to help fund it or something like that.
We did bring that up as a group, and I think that's not, I'm not gonna consider that a removing,
That's not a deal.
a negative against the tier 1 guys. I think a 0.5% is something I can go, because their main concern, they have a just concern, is they don't wanna lose any benefits. They don't wanna, and I made it clear to the tier 2 people also, I said, listen, anything that we remove from a tier 1 person, it's removing from you too. So there's no point to do it. And everyone's on the same page, and I was very happy with the unity about it. But no, I don't consider that a removal of a benefit. I think that, those officers were presented that information, and they know that it's a possibility that contribution can change. I had a lot of talk and asking about where, with Governor DeSantis proposing changing the state FRS system, and the neighboring cities going to 20 years from a 25-year, that was the other hot button obvious issue. I don't know where the city is on that. I don't know if that's something the city is considering doing.
You mean move it to FRS or do
No,
it
no,
20
no.
now? Okay.
20-year, moving to a 20-year retirement from a 25, so basically going back the way it was previously. Because when we're looking at the neighboring agencies, we're seeing that New Smyrna is obviously 20-year, 28. We don't even have a 10-year and drop. We used to have a 10-year and 48. You could drop. We don't have that anymore. So there's a lot of things I think that I would like to see. Some of them cost nothing. Some of them may cost something, and that's the whole point of looking at it, going, hey, what costs what, and what's doable and just not doable, and what's good for recruitment. What's good to keep a person here or attract someone here, because New Smyrna has a very enticing plan. They have a very enticing 20 years that you can buy back 5, and it's rolled into your check. I think they have a great way to pull people down there.
All right, wait, back up for me. Are we looking to cost out these enhancements to tier 1, right? So part 1 is we want to get everybody on tier 1.
Yeah.
And then it's, okay, now we want enhanced benefits on tier 1, whether that's 20 and out or whatever those things happen to be, or is this separate and apart from trying to get everybody to tier 1?
I guess it's, I'm going to consider it to be separate. I would consider it to be separate. I didn't know what I wanted to, obviously, some of the point of the meeting was to see where the city's mindset was, is saying, is this something you all are considering or have in the works? Because, we talking to the neighboring areas, I know fire had it on their mind, so I didn't know where the city was in terms of this year. What articles you were looking at?
I will tell you, I don't think we have any intentions of opening anything. Again, we just wrapped up the whole contract a year ago.
Right.
We just wrapped up the last session of negotiations a couple of months ago. We do have the new police chief. He apologizes he could not be here today. But I've asked him, is there anything you've now seen operationally coming in from a different entity you would want to tweak or change? I don't think he's been in the seat long enough to analyze that. And we're going to be here again a year from now because the whole contract's going to be open next October. So I think, he might want to incorporate any operational changes he sees. So right now, I don't have any plans to open up anything. And I think we could just focus on retirement and kind of hash that out to see where we are with it. I would say, let's have an actuary do several different analysis, right? And we'll have to clarify for him. Part 1 is, what would it cost to move everybody to tier 1 as is? Okay. But then if we start looking at additional enhancements, do you include, okay, if you move everybody to tier 1 and then we do a 20 and out, or let's say it's cost too much to move everybody to tier one, but we do a 20 and out for everybody, right? So those are gonna be different variations of calculations. Right now, I'm not saying I'm for or opposed to anything, it's all gonna depend on how much it's gonna cost, right? So I think if we have an actuary do, hey, here's the 7 different iterations of calculations or benefit changes we want you to look at, it's gonna take them 6 weeks to do all of that, and then we can come back and go, okay, 20 and out's gonna be way too expensive, but moving everybody to tier one would only cost you this much, let's talk about that. So, I don't have strong feelings one way or the other on any particular benefits. Let's just get it all out on what you guys would be looking at, for changes to your pension, and let's just cost it out.
Yeah, I think that, I agree. That's definitely where we want to be at.
Yeah, so
Right
the
at the
sooner I can
moment.
get that information to an actuary and get it on their, priority list to do, the sooner we can get the results back and then get back together.
Okay.
So if you can get me a list of, hey, here's the things we want them to cost out, moving everybody to tier one with no reduction in benefits. Number 2, moving everybody to tier one and adding a 20 and out option, or whatever the guys, you decide you think you want to look at, or you think is comparable or competitive to other cities. And we could say, to the actuary, hey, give us some variations, right? A 20 and out will cost you this, but a 20 and age 48 would cost you that, or, maybe it's 20 in so many years, are there different variations that we can have them cost out up front so that we have options to kind of play with, right?
Okay.
If you just do, 20 and out's gonna cost you X, and we come back and go, well, what about if you put an age requirement in there? I don't want to have to go back to an actuary and go, can you cost that out as well? So I'd like to put a lot of parameters out there for him to,
I
Never
would
heard
too.
cost out.
I would love to. I don't want to have to revisit that.
Right.
We don't have the data. I'm going to be very open about the fact that, I want to learn. I want to be able to have the data. I don't want to take guesses on anything like this, because we're talking about retirement of officers. I had officers come to me and they were, they had legitimate concerns, and I happened to be one of them, where we said, we thought was odd. I said, I could work 25 years and I don't get $1 when I leave. I have to wait because I wouldn't get the age bracket. And I said, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah. So that was, I said, I think that's a failure that we want to be able to address and go, hey, how do we fix this? There's officers that, are older when they started working, and they may be coming from a different type of line of work where they're already in a retirement, and they're looking at, hey, I want to be able to retire when I'm at 48 instead of having to go all the way to the end just to get this benefit. So that I want to look at all that. So I'm going to weigh heavily on Gary for how we structure these requests to you. That way the actuary is kind of up to date with it.
Yeah. I think you summarized them well. So either I could send you an email with those priorities, or if you want to say, as I understand it, this is what you're asking, and
Yeah.
I can confirm it.
we can do that. Send me the list of the things you'd like to see costed out. I'll confirm and go, here's what I understand you're asking for. And go, yep, you got it, or nope, you misunderstood this one. And if we have to get that together, we certainly can.
Okay.
But hopefully it's pretty straightforward that if you guys can just bullet out the things
Yeah.
you'd like to have costed out, we could get moving on it.
I think this tier 1, tier 2 is a little unique. I haven't run into this up in Boise County or anywhere else. So, I mean, I had to get my head around exactly what it involved. But the tier 1 are the, I guess, people that were hired, before
2011. Yeah, so we're real good at, we're just gonna freeze for grandfather people in, but prospectively, this is what you get. So we have bifurcations of both the fire pension and the general employees pension as well, where we don't take anything away from anybody, but going forward, you get reduced benefits.
Yeah.
So,
And I think, as Jared said, the sensitivity on the union side is obviously there's more in tier 2 than there are in tier 1. So that's why the tier 1 people like what they have. They don't want to lose what they
right,
have.
sure.
Yeah.
Even that 0.5% on the pension contribution.
Yeah, and I think from the city side, the reason that we made those changes at that time, it was the bottom of the recession. What we did change for tier 1 was the contribution. So after, 2001 and 9/11, the contributions were 0.5%. And so the employees just weren't contributing enough to make the plan sustainable. So there were some changes we made at that time. And one of those things was, okay, prospectively, it's a reduction in benefits. Well, now we have a much healthier plan than we did 10 years ago. But we're still going to want to ensure that the plan is sustainable, that the cost is not exorbitant. I know not the police plan, but one of our other plans, the contribution rate was more than 100% of payroll. You know, in order to fund that plan and keep it actuarially sound was costing the city just too much. So we still want to make sure, I think the police pension plan is I think it's around, last numbers I saw were like 78% funded or 76 or something like that. You know, payroll contributions about 50%. So we're in a much better place health-wise from the pension plan than we were 10 years ago, 11 years ago now. That I think we can reanalyze some things so long as we can still maintain, you know, the cost to the city is relatively low and it's still an actuarially healthy plan.
So that's fine. So I think that's going to be what I'll be able to do is, you know, I'll get with the bargaining unit and I'll kind of summarize that, what we're talking about to them and saying, listen, what are we thinking that you guys would like, not like, what matters, doesn't matter. And I'll get it to Gary and Gary can structure it and get it to you. And then if you see something that you want to add, you know, let's add it, let's look at it, let's move because I think there is an openness to, you know, we have a lot of play. I think I think when I counted it, there were seven different benefits for between the two tiers, and it went from, you know, some of it went from the sick time to vacation to your COLA to medical stipend. So, you know, we have a range of things that I think it affects across the entire contract. So that's going to be, you know, a key thing to move. But I also want to look to, you know, to getting the tier one people something to look forward to also, because, you know, I think a lot of them were taken back by the 22-25 year. And then I believe at some point, when I was told at some point, the 10 and 48 drop went away. And I think they would like that to come back. So there is a lot of, I've got a general range of people where something does affect each one of them. So I think the cost study is going to be great.
Yeah.
You said the cost study will take like 4 weeks, 6 weeks?
Yeah, it depends on the actuary's workload, you know, because they have different accounts, but typically I've seen them take around 6 weeks. I know right now a lot of them are wrapping up the 2021 pension statements for the different cities. So, but I think that should wrap up probably within the next month or so. So if we could get a list to them, if you can get, how soon do you think you can give me a list of the items you'd be looking for?
I think looking at the schedule, I think I could get you a list by the third week. Well, the third week of February or the fourth week of February for sure. I
don't
could get
think
you.
have something before the 15th. So I have my first shade meeting on the 15th because I'd like to go, all right, council, here's what we're looking at, just so that we're all on the same page.
Just shy of 2 weeks.
I can try. I mean, I can try. If the 15th is valuable, I will push to get it to you by the 15th.
Okay.
Are you gonna have a membership meeting between now?
Yes, I will. That should give me enough time. If I have a bargaining unit meeting next week at some point, even if it straddles that third week, and get a consensus.
Okay.
Because we're on the Wednesday, so I've got this and this.
Do it to me on Friday 14th, I can put it to you that day. I could restructure it in a request format or something.
I think I can get it done.
Okay.
Where
At least
people
get 90% there,
Sure.
right? So I can go, hey, listen, these are their big asks, right? We're gonna cost these things out just so we're on the same page. If you've got to do a minor tweak, it'll be a couple days before I get to the pension board, who then has to turn around and ask their actuary. So there's a process into all of that. So we'll have a few days to play around if you need to tweak something. But just to give council a general idea of what the ask is gonna be.
Okay.
So,
And I guess I'll clarify. So the time being at the moment, cities looking at no articles that they intended on
I
opening.
think so.
Fine, no problem with me.
I
So,
think we'll just focus on retirement.
Yeah,
Make it
I'm
easy.
good
Like
with
I said,
that,
we'll
yeah.
be back here in a year and doing the whole contract. So
Yeah.
any operational things that need to be tweaked or adjusted, we can address at that time. I don't think there's anything burning right now that Chief Marino has seen going, whoa, 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 this is really crazy, that how you guys do it here in Port Orange, that he wants to change. I think he's still taking it all in and just learning.
Right.
So it gives him some time to still figure out the who's who's and the what's what's, and he may have some ideas for next year, but.
I think that'll be good. I'll get enough time to people can get me their opinions and structure them, give them enough time for them to give them to a consensus, and I'll get a couple things basically ready. That way we can present it to you, and that way you get to the actuary in a timely manner. That way we're not in too much of a lag.
That would be my goal, is to try to have the requests in to the actuary by the end of this month. So I gotta go through, the pension boards, if we use the pensions attorney. Fire's got the same request, so they're looking at their retirement as well, so I've got to get the fire actuary too. So general employees haven't asked regarding their retirement, so I've got a few of them that I'm juggling, but I'd like to have all the requests out there to get all the actuaries going by the end of this month.
And when are the budget workshops for the city for?
We don't
Next
kick
fiscal
those
year.
off until, we kick off the budget cycle February 1st, but we start out with, hey, are you asking for any new positions for next fiscal year? And so we give departments a month. So we actually don't really start budget workshops, I don't think, until around May.
Okay. Because obviously switching the tier 2s to tier 1s has some financial impact.
Sure.
So,
The only other thing, and maybe you can answer this for me, is I had brought up was we saw a significant flaw in the death benefit. I don't know. I don't know how aware you are of it, where it is in terms of the contract ordinance, how specific that is. But we noticed that there was a obvious issue with Officer Sergeant White that passed away, and we also the pension board discovered that there was an issue where I believe it's if you have under 10 years, you're not getting a death benefit, and that's a problem. That's we had pension members that said, hey, you've got I had a good example brought up to me, and I want to be able to show it to you, because I think Britt will actually know where I'm coming from too, which I appreciate. Is we had a problem where the example was you have two officers getting a shooting, one dies, and one is just he's too emotionally damaged by it. He retires PTSD, he gets his retirement, the officer gets nothing that died. So we've got officers that, we have a large amount of under 10-year officers, and they freaked. They were upset. So that's one thing that I want to make sure that if it's being looked at, and where it's being looked at, and how are we correcting it, because it needs to be corrected. I know the city did not intend on that. I know that, but we need to correct it, because I'm telling officers to go out there and do a great job, and now they're knowing that they die, they get nothing until they hit 10 years.
Gary, I would imagine, do you have some plans? I don't know how standard that benefit is, or does it vary greatly among cities, but do you have some other cities that you represent that we have some model language that we could maybe copy from?
I'll go back and check on the other
I think
agencies.
Volusia.
Yeah.
Volusia has
what
a
the
good.
county does.
Volusia has it spelled out. I think, if I remember correctly, Volusia ran into this problem a while ago, and obviously we haven't run into the problem, right?
Thank
It's a
goodness,
recent
right?
thing that
Yep.
we all noticed. Daytona Beach apparently just found out the same issue, and I don't want us to be there.
Right.
I don't want us to ever be there again. So I want us to fix it, make it retro, because we have obviously that issue, and it's a just issue that I know the city did not intend on, and we need to make it right. So
as you said, someone could have something like PTSD and they
PTSD,
get covered.
he's
Well, that's
gonna
a line
get
of duty
coverage.
disability.
A line of
So-
duty disability, but the officer that dies gets nothing.
Or his
Survivor,
The
right.
survivor gets nothing.
Yeah.
And you're
And in
that's
Justin's case, he had moved to years.
he had more than 10 years. So, but the the discovery was shocking. I know it, and I know it shocked a multitude of people. I don't know what happened with it, how it was. It was a wording problem, but I just want to be able to say, hey, we're fixing it. Let's fix it.
Yeah, I think that's something we put in the
Because we
actuary
can't-
evaluation.
yeah.
Here's what we're gonna do, here's the benefit for, and I don't know what the provisions are for, less than 10 years versus more than 10 years or what it is,
Right.
but hey, here's how we wanna fix it, how much is it gonna cost, right? I think that's
Right.
part of the valuation as well.
Is this also a tier 1 versus tier 2 issue? Like, are the tier 1s don't have a 10-year or less? Not
I
covered?
don't believe so. I think it was I would like someone from the pension board to clarify it, and have someone here from the pension board. But no, I believe it's just under the death benefit in general, so that the tier 1 people don't fall under it because they've already
They've all got
surpassed
over
10
10
years.
years.
They're already all
Oh,
over 10
that's true.
years.
So
So
we used to have Sergeant Carmen on the pension board on our side. But-
Sergeant,
Right.
yes,
But now he's lieutenant, right?
he's a lieutenant now. We do have, I mean, there is an officer in the bargaining unit. He's in the bargaining unit. He's on the pension board, Andy McKay.
Okay.
I know he's been following it. I know
Okay.
Assistant Chief Proctor's still on the board.
And Chief Proctor actually mentioned it to me the other day, we have our prep meeting before we come into this meeting, and he mentioned, he's like, hey, whatever we do with the actuary, let's make sure we look at that death benefit and get it fixed, whatever
Yeah.
that fixed is gonna be.
Is that a different carrier than provides the health insurance? I assume so, but.
No, so this is just through the pension board.
It's through,
and
oh,
just-
I'm sorry, it's just
Yeah,
the board. Okay.
It's whatever the ordinance says, so,
Okay.
either way, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, we didn't have retirement over, we had no openers, I think the city would still be looking at going, yeah, we've got a hole here, we don't want a hole.
Right.
Yeah, because
The
it's a,
pension, the city would go, okay, union, let's talk about this, we do want to tweak this, benefit here,
Right.
and then do the ordinance
And I-
change.
it
so.
can be obviously
And
a disincentive for hiring.
Right. That would be nice for the city to go, hey,
Yeah.
we'll open that. Let's open that because we need to fix it. Because I was shocked. I was, we're hailing these officers for doing great jobs, and we just hailed these officers for trying to pull this lady out of the water. I'm thinking to myself, this guy drowned, he's getting nothing if he drowned. So I don't want to be in that position. So that would be something I want to make sure that we did talk about it, brought it up, and then see what go from there in terms of how we fix it.
Yep.
And then the retirement things, I'll get my meetings done, get some structured thoughts about it, get them to Gary so he can get you a better idea, and then get them to you. And that way, hopefully, I'm giving you minimal lag. I think that would be good.
Lofty goal, but, my goal is to not only have, an MOU ratified by the union and council on, retirement, but then have the ordinance changed and have both readings done before October 1st. That's my goal.
Listen, you have me as much as possible to finish as quickly as possible with reason. I don't like going back and forth for petty things. I try to not do any of that. I think, most of the officers want the same exact thing. They want it to be clear, cut, dry. That's why I want to get, every time we have a meeting, it's of value.
Yep.
There's no just, thanks for saying hi, and we'll meet back in 2 weeks. I'm not getting paid by the hour.
Right? Sounds good to me.
I think
I'm on a flat rate.
Gary's getting a flat rate.
I hear you. Okay, I think, is there anything else that,
I think for right now, I think that's, for the initial meeting, I think that's good, unless you had anything else that need to be brought up.
You guys have anything?
you want us to go ahead or have Jared sign this?
Yeah, I'll give you one that's not stapled so I can scan it to you
Okay.
guys for your records.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Look fine here.
2/2/22.
2/2/22.
I bet there's some weddings going on at the courthouse
Right?
today. Hey, you're gonna have a special day, right?
It's easier. to
Take
remember.
your memory, exactly.
And I will sign this and I will scan you guys copies for your records. And, you know, I say we don't schedule the next meeting because if you can just email me
Right.
what your
Yes.
request is,
No, I think
I'll get
we
it, we'll get it to
because
the
it sounds-
actuary, we'll get them going. And then
Right.
once I have it back,
Once you have back the report from the
we'll
actuary.
get something on the calendar.
That's fine with me. We'll get, because I'm always by my email on the phone, and
Yeah.
I'll get you the information as clear as I can. Gary's gonna, obviously, he's gonna do most of the weightlifting on it, because I'm not a structured person, but, and that way we'll schedule afterwards, and we'll give the actuary the time they need. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, like I said, if I get it to them, you know, by the end of February, if we ballpark 6 weeks, give or take a couple weeks, that puts us middle of April to have something back.
Okay.
So maybe by the beginning of May, we can actually start, you know, negotiations and hopefully have it wrapped up pretty quick thereafter. Get it voted on, ratified, and then get ordinance changes drafted up and to council. And over the summer, we can go through that process and have it all wrapped up by October 1st.
Either-
Could be an ordinance change.
Okay, yeah.
It would all be
yeah.
an ordinance change. So
Okay.
so we'll just do it all together, whatever we end up negotiating.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Great.
All right, well,
Thank you guys so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate
I
it.
appreciate it.
And I'll look forward to that email from you.
Yes,
Absolutely.
great to see you all again. So this will,
Fantastic to see your sweater, Brett.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
that's pretty cool.
A couple versions of that one, too.